Hello, everyone. Welcome to this very last session, Coping with Wsl Interoperability Tips and Tricks. So I'm Jimmy Wu, but you can just call me Patrick. In this session, I will try to cover some tips and tricks that you might need when you try to scripting with Wsl Interoperability. And I will go through all of this using a brand new feature that will be released in the Wsl Utilities 3 to demonstrate how you can leverage Wsl interoperability. Before we begin, I would like to introduce myself a little. I actually just graduated from I just got a bachelor degree in computer science in HKUST just last year. And you might also know that I made a collection of utility tools that called Wsl Utilities. And I'm also a member of the Whitewater Foundry, where I actually focus on developing Penguin. And currently, I'm focusing on developing some tools like the terminals that you saw on the Penguin update, and also some other features like iBus, and it will be coming soon. I actually have been using the WSL since its really first release in the Insider Fast Ring, and at that time it's still called the Bash on Ubuntu on Windows. And I actually started to use it, and then as soon as it get a bit stable, I start to replacing my dual boot Ubuntu machine. And the more I use WSL, and I find that WSL is really awesome. It actually really helped my university life. It helps my like C++ homework, my machine learning projects, and my Java bot group project. You can run Octave and MIPS such tools like that pretty smoothly in the WSL, and you don't have to need to create a virtual machine or dual boot. And what's more, I believe that WSL interoperability makes the WSL 100 times more awesome. Mainly, this enables you to do things that is not possible when you are using the virtual machine or dual booting, and it makes the interaction between the WSL and the Windows better, and it also enables me to build WSL utilities, and it actually and build some really cool tools like you can create shortcuts on your Windows desktop and launch a WSL console application or UI application directly from your desktop. Let me just give you a demo of the this brand new feature that I will I will be introduced in the WSL Utilities 3. It's called auto mounting. So by default, WSL will auto mount some Windows partitions, especially the local disks. But it won't auto mounting some other drives like your network location. So here, as you can see, I actually have only my C drive mounted, but actually I have 4 network locations here not mounted. So here I just have to run my auto mounting command here. Oops, the wrong one. And it will actually auto mount, try to find the auto drive on my computer and mount auto drive. And you might notice it failed to mount the drive D because it's a DVD drive. And now if we go into the MNTZ, you can actually see it's properly mounted and it's exactly the same. So how did I do that? So first of all, before we even start scripting, it is possibly a good idea to check your Windows version. The main reason to check your Windows version is that different Windows version actually offers different features for WSL. And you might wondering, current release is 1909, so like you possibly suspect most people would just using 1909. But there's one problem that you need to consider the maximum compatibility. For example, the current LTSC is 1809, and the current version for other versions that still supported is 1809 too, and the version for the education and the enterprise that is still supported is 1709. And you also know there is a common version is 2004, and they all offer different feature sets. So this is one thing you need to consider before your scripting. And now, before we, in the very beginning of our script, you need to check whether the WSL interoperability is enabled, because it will be possibly disabled for some people. So there is actually exists a process information per pseudo file as shown on the screen, and this file allows you to actually, if you print out this file, you can see there is in the first line you will see the enabled text. If the first line is enabled, the WSL interoperability is enabled. Otherwise, it's disabled. And you can use this to check whether the WSL interoperability is enabled or not. And it is also a good idea to use this pseudo file for checking whether you are using WSL or normal Linux. And now let's talk about the WSL start configuration file. Actually, I won't dig into the details of the configuration file because there is a bit of the time limit here, and I try to go through as many things as possible. So it's a good idea you can check the documents from here on the Microsoft official WSL documentation. And here in the script, we actually will use these two settings. The first one is the root, and the second one is the options. The options will help us. I will use this one to use as the mounting option in the auto mounting script. And for the root one, what I will going to do here is I will use this one to get the current Windows Drive mounting point, and then use the current Windows Drive mounting point to get the current system drive. Why I have to do this is mainly because I want to get these system environment variables without actually executing Windows executables, and also avoiding to use some features that are available on the higher WSL, for example, WSL EMV. which is actually really helpful, but unfortunately, it's not backward compatible. So now let's talk about let's start talking about how you can execute the Windows command on the WSL side. So there is mainly the three ways that you can execute a command. The first one is you direct executable the individual tools, for example, reg.exe. The second one is the command prompt cmd.exe. The third one is the PowerShell.exe, PowerShell, the Windows PowerShell. And let's talk about. So here is why I need to get the previous resources. Is mainly because I need to get the full path. So I need to get what is the MMT and what is the system drive. Here is the C, and then the system path, and then the executable itself. And because I have encountered a situation that some systems are actually installed in their H drive or X drive, and they are actually unable to find the CMD. So let's begin talk about the first one, the individual tools. The individual tools like reg.exe is really just really straightforward, and it's pretty fast. And but there is a little problem that they are possibly not supporting the UNC path, and there is a possibility that no error will possibly show. This will be not effective if you are using the older version. What's the UNA path? It's basically the path that the UNC path is basically a path that is like a network location. And the major problem here is that in the later version, the WSL file is mounted as a network location. And then if you are executing in the WSL file, it will go it will go automatically to consider it as a UNC path. And this will mainly cause a problem. So if you need to pay attention whether the executable will support the UNC path. So let's now move on to the cmd.exe. cmd.exe mostly can work using with executables and with some extra benefits like the command prompt command support, and it's easier to use, easier that you can use the environment variables, and it also allows you to run scripts like .bat. So to execute a command, you will do cmd.exe/c command, and but there is also a problem. The cmd.exe also don't support the UNC path, and it will just directly giving out the error. So this error will possibly cause to corrupt you, to get your output corrupted. So if you want to eliminate this error, one solution is that you go directly to a non-UNC path, that is the Windows directory. So then the previously I mentioned the mount point and the system drive is also useful here. So finally, let's talk about the Windows PowerShell, the PowerShell.exe. So here I am talking about the Windows PowerShell, the PowerShell core. This is mainly because I have when I tried to handling PowerShell core, I have encountered some small issues, and also for the maximum compatibility, it's still suggests to use built-in PowerShell, that is the Windows PowerShell. But PowerShell itself, it's pretty powerful, and it allows you to execute the PowerShell command and scripts. And in order to execute a PowerShell command, you usually do something like the PowerShell /comment, then the comment. But in order to speed up, it's also suggested to include the no profile, non-interactive argument, and this will help speed up a bit. And also, if you are executing a script, it's also good idea to include the line execution policy bypass. But using the Windows PowerShell, the PowerShell.exe also have a drawback. That's the PowerShell raster font problem. So what basically it happens that if you try to create a script using the PowerShell.exe directly, like what is shown, when you try to execute the command, you will try to reset the Windows console back to the with the raster font, and it will make the console really hard to see. And this is also a really common issue. And actually, I found out. So there's an audio problem.
I don't think so. I think you're fine to go ahead.
Okay. Okay. So I actually have find out there is multiple issues, including my own WSL LU, and someone actually reported that my utility screws fonts in the Windows console, and uh, uh, then after some digging, the root problem is something is reported here. And I actually, from multiple trails, I found out the main reason that why it is resetting the raster font. So here there is two Windows console settings page. So the first one is the Windows PowerShell settings page, and the second one is WSL distro console settings page. And there's one difference here, and that is its code page used. The Windows PowerShell code page is using the OEM code page, and while the WSL distro Windows console is using the UTF-8 code page. I have been reading somewhere that actually to maximize the experience in the WSL, the Windows console for the WSL actually is using the UTF-8, and this is where the problem occurs. So when you're executing the PowerShell.exe, it will actually try to use the OEM code page. So it actually tried to reset to the OEM code page, and thus resetting everything back to the raster font. And there is one solution. That is, there is just system-wide UTF-8 support in your region setting, so you can actually enable it in your region setting, and actually it sets your OEM code page to the UTF-8. And unfortunately, that is not backward compatible, and it's also beta. It might break some of your application. So I figured out a solution, more of a workaround. So basically what I do here is before I execute the PowerShell PowerShell.exe, I actually try to get the OEM code page and using the chap.com to change the code page to the OEM code page. And you can get the OEM code page from here. But basically, I eliminate this line and because it's getting too long. So what basically it does here is trying to get the OEM code page from the registry. And after executing the comment, I set back to the set back the code page to the UTF-8. That is 6501. So this is the a modified script, and this one actually works and will not resetting my Windows console. So I just talk about all of the three. And now let's move. Actually, these three actually have some performance difference here. So actually, I did some benchmark here, and you might. It is also suggested for you to benchmark on your own site. And so basically, it will take some time to run here, and you can actually get the source code on the get the source code from my resource page, and I think I have already posted on my Twitter account. So as here it shows. Here the result is out. As you can see, although like PowerShell is really powerful, it actually is the slowest. The individual tools is the fastest way, and the CMD is only a little bit slower than the executables. This performance difference will be a lot will be bigger if you are in a slower computer. So this is possibly one consideration when you're trying to do scripting. So we just covered how you can execute Windows command on the WSL side. So let's talk about how you can execute WSL command on Windows side. So actually, there is three options you can execute WSL command on Windows side. That is the bash.exe, the wsl.exe, or the distro.exe, where the distro is the individual distro name. For the bash.exe, this is more like is a legacy of the WSL, and mainly because the very first release of the WSL is called the bash on Ubuntu and Windows. So at the first, so as the name suggests, the bash.exe will execute commands that using a bash login shell of your default WSL Linux distribution, and it basically use the bash command line argument. So if you type the bash.exe and you type the help, you actually seeing the same help output from the GNU Bash, and you can actually do everything that exactly you would do with the GNU Bash, and you can execute the command using bash.exe /c and then the command. And then let's move on to the wsl.exe. wsl.exe is the most advanced one among all three, and it also have features merged from the wsl.config.exe. So wsl.exe not only helps you run the distros, but also it helps you to manage the WSL distros. So actually, to execute a command using wsl.exe, there is a few arguments available for you. You can use the D argument to launch the distro you want, or using the U argument to select the user you want to start with, and also the E argument to execute a command. And for E, it's a bit interesting one because the WSL without E, it executes the comments with the default login shell of your WSL distribution. But if you with the E argument, it executes comments on your WSL distribution without any shell. So here is a little demonstration of what happens. So if I don't include the E parameter, the shell environment will return my default shell I use, which is the bash shell. And if I actually use the E argument, it actually shows my shell argument is the executable that I have been executed. So this is also the one that you possibly need to pay attention, and you can also use it wisely in your script. And the last one is distro.exe. Distro.exe actually will launch the specific distro of your choice. But its parameter is a bit interesting, so I would like to talk about that. So launching a distro.exe without any argument, actually, you will launch the default shell in the user's home directory. If you include the wrong comment, but without the comment, it will launch the user's default shell in the current working directory. Then, if you include comment wrong comment, it will run the command line in the current working directory with user's default shell. So at first, I actually think because when I tried to type the distro.exe launch in my home directory, I thought the wrong comment will also run the command in my home directory, which isn't. So this is something you might need to pay attention. Also, there's one drawbacks is that the first one is that the imported distribution don't have these executables, so you have to use the wsl.exe or bash.exe. And also, the distro.exe can be different from the distribution registered name. So, for example, the Ubuntu 1804 LTS, its registered name is Ubuntu /18.04, but its executables is Ubuntu 1804.exe. So why this script? Why is the WSL Act, the auto mounting feature, will requires something that allows you to execute command from the Windows side. So here is some a little trick that you can do so that you can actually gain root access without sudo. So actually, you might already notice that when I just execute the command, actually run it without running sudo and actually still mounting all my drives. So this is what happens in the back on the in the back that I actually use this line to execute the command using the root account. And that's how I execute the mount command and creating folders in the in my mount point. But actually, I don't think it's a secure way to do things here. So use it at your own risk. So I just covered how you can execute the wsl command on the Windows side. So let's now dive in the code. So here, at the very beginning of the here, as you can see, is actually the source code of the command I just execute, and you can see here the checking at the very beginning of my script, I checked the wsl interoperability here using a grep, and if it detects it's not enabled, it actually exits immediately. So here is just some boring constants I defined, and this part is how I use the root settings in the wsl.conf, the wsl start off configuration file. So here, what basically here it does is if the file exists, and it also finds the user have defined a custom root mounting location, and it will use this mounting location. Otherwise, it will fall back to the default mounting location, that is the MMT. And here is I use the mounting point to get the system drive. Basically, is it tries to try to find the system drive in the mounting point, and if it found, it will use that to the system drive. Otherwise, it will fall back to the default Windows system drive, that is the C drive. And this part this part you see is my implementation of my the Windows how I handle the Windows console using the PowerShell. So I create a customized PowerShell executable function that will execute everything using this function. And I actually get the OEM code page here and generate a constant file. And it's a really constant file here. So let's move to the main function of the auto mounting. And so as you can see here, this is how I get the drive list. I use the fsutil.exe, and here I actually use the full path. And I use the mounting point from the function, and I use the system drive using the function I just used. And here I basically generate a list of the drive except the system drive. And then here I use option settings to detect whether there is option settings to set the mount point. So if I detect there is a custom option settings that is set in the wsl startup configuration file, I will actually use that as a mounting option. So here is where the mounting happens. And as you can see, here I use the trick I just mentioned, the wsl.exe view root trick, so that here I actually executing the comment and actually using this to create the drive folder if it didn't exist, and if the drive exists, it will it will mount the drive here, and basically I execute the command here, and if it returns error code, it will go to the file to mount drive. If it is successful, it goes to a mounted drive. So that's basically how the auto mounting works. And I actually want to talk more about the WSL and WSL interoperability, like how exactly the registry information for WSL, or like how you can execute the Windows executables using the administrator permission on WSL, and etc. etc. But I think the time is already running out. So I actually put everything on my resource page, and all this information is already put in the bonus section. And you can actually get everything here. And also, if you have any questions, you can find me on the Twitter or IRC. You can contact me on my personal account or the WSL Utilities account. You can also contact me on IRC, or you can also chat on my IRC account for WSL Utilities. I have a channel for that on a free note. And basically, that's it. Thank you.
If you had any other notes or anything else before we leave for the day, I'm happy to close recording or broadcasting for today and let us kick back off tomorrow.
I do had one thing to show.
Excellent.
So actually, you might possibly not able to find where the bonus session is. It's in the link at the bottom. Here is a bonus section on the website, and I actually mostly talking about three parts here. One thing is start the Windows GUI apps without the command prompt. Actually, this redirects to one of my posts. And one is WSL related registry, and really a small dive of what exactly the registry means that is related to WSL. So this part is mostly show you what exactly each key means and what options you can input. And the last part is how you can execute the Windows executables using the administrator in WSL. So that's mostly all I want to show. So thank you.